Hello, good evening. My name is Sejkora, and I'm here to present the Universal Safety Solution. USC is the provider of the safety and security systems. They are based in USA and Canada within 150 offices in 15 regions. They do design, installation, monitoring, and maintenance services to their customers. Their mission is to protect people, property, and assets from theft and fire. They are dealing with B2B customers. They have over 100,000 customers, and they are planning 10% growth in 5 years. The challenges that they are currently facing are that the systems are not well integrated, they cannot scale, and it's not unified experience. They would like to create a more unified system and allow some digital experience to their customers. I'm going with the single org strategy, as we would have a better customer overviews across both main regions. We'll be able to enforce all of the necessary processes, and we would have nice customer 360 view. We will need to support multi-languages, English and French. We will be using the translation workbench, labels, rename labels, override in case of any packages installed, and we will be going to use Experience Cloud Language Picker plus XML import to modify the Experience Cloud. We are going to be using multi-currency simple, as there were no requirements for further information. I have identified following risks and assumptions. There will be more assumptions coming in during the solutioning. The enabling in API in monitoring systems plus ERP. So these systems should have it, but it's not used. So we will need to get strict timelines and initiate it all in good timings to be sure it's delivered. We are going to be using mobile publisher, so we need to take into control that we have no control. It will take 4 to 6 weeks to get it done usually, so we need to plan with proper buffers, and we will need to also make sure that our testing plan for the tool using the toolkit from Salesforce is good enough. There is a requirement to go live in 4 months. I will cover that during the governance slide. But we are going with the phased approach to deliver the first part in 4 months. The assumptions I've made is that the Canvas SDK can be consumed by the design system. The APIs can be enabled in each system can have a unique ID to provide. It goes for ERPs and the monitoring systems. I'm also expecting that the barcodes that are delivered with the devices are done in a way that Salesforce will be able to read them. The actors that will be using the new system will be the system specialists. There is 3,000 of them. They will be using service and CRM analytics licenses, so they need to have the access to the cases and the omnichannel routing. That's why service and CRM analytics, they need to have proper access to the large data volumes and reporting. The same goes for the managers and support representatives. Basically the same requirements. The contractors there is 6,000 of them. They will have a customer community license, as I have not seen anything else that would be needed. Then we have a primary customer contacts, 200,000 of them that will be getting CC plus because they need to be able to manage other customer contacts, which leads us to the secondary customer contact, which will be 500,000 on a CC licensing. The role hierarchy that we are looking at is the CEO. Then we have the HQ, where is 15 managers. Then there are regions, 15 of them, then split it into 150 offices. In the offices, there will be system specialists, and they will be owning the accounts with the primary customers, which are the external users. Then we have 3 service centers that will be on the same level as the region because of the sharing simplicity, and the support representatives, they will be working out of those. Now let's have a look at our system landscape. So our potential customers will be able to place requirements or see details on the website. We will have a web to lead protected by reCAPTCHA coming in. Then our customers will be able to utilize Facebook or social sign-on. So we will be using the OIDC plus custom registration handler set up on the Experience Cloud. And we will be also exposing the Experience Cloud for our customers as a mobile publisher app, which will be utilizing the user agent plus OIDC layered flow for authentication and authorization. From the systems that are already existing in the system, we are working with the AT, Active Directory, that we will be utilizing through Okta, that will allow us to have a service provider initiated SSO, SAML 2.0 flow to log in users to Salesforce with just-in-time provisioning, and we will be using REST scheme APIs for the provisioning. To allow seamless login from the internal network, we are going to set up a Kerberos token between Active Directory and the Okta to make the experience seamless. We are also having 3 monitoring systems and 2 ERP systems as the current applications. We will be integrating them through ESB to Salesforce. Assumption is that both of these, or 5 of these systems, would be able to use REST endpoints. I'm going to retire the old CRM, and I'm also going to retire sales and CRM functionalities from the ERP systems. I'm proposing to connect to the design tool, both through the ESB and also through the Canvas, to allow with the signed request for security and authentication of the users, to allow seamless usage of the system. Of the new systems that I'm going to include, I'm proposing to use ETL and ESB. The main reason why to have these systems is that ETL is used for migration and any big batch loads that needs to be happening, and the ESB is required for the data transformation and format transformation to different ERP systems and different monitoring systems. It will also be required for orchestration of the integrations. The ESB will be connected to the Salesforce using JWT OAuth flow for security. To increase security on the security layer, we are going to use mutual TLS, and we are going to be using REST APIs, OData, and also PubSub, for which the MTLS will not be enabled for the event integration. Then for the ETL, we are going to be using the same security approach. We are going to be using Bulk API 2.0 for any data integration and 1.0 for any files integrations. I'm also going to propose a data warehouse system for the data for the data offloads from the Salesforce system. Then I'm proposing to use a SharePoint Online as a file storing system where all of the files can be at a single place, and we will be using Files Connect to connect to that and show the files in Salesforce. On the Salesforce, we will need to enable my domain for the SSO flows. Then we will need to have Service Cloud Trace, DocuSign, and Salesforce Connect. Let's have a look at our ERT diagram. So we are going to be using most of the standard objects. So the account and contact will represent our customers and contractors. We are going to be using account contact rows to put multiple primary contacts to multiple accounts. We are going to be using leads when our customers our prospect customers would be stored, and then we will be using the custom object of estimation to run them through the onboarding. Then we will convert that to the service contract, and each customer would have multiple locations. We are assuming 2 locations per customer. There will be also a financial data linked to the location. Then we would have up to 32 million cases. We will be also having up to 32 million assets. Then we are going to be using assets will be our devices. The work order will be used for maintenance plan and any ad hoc work that needs to be done at the customer's place. Then we will be having the orders to order new devices for the installation, and we will be storing we will be utilizing price book entry and product as with the products that we are actually selling. So our products will be the different types of the devices with the specific prices. I'm going to use the principle of least privilege. So all of the objects are private unless said otherwise. So the opportunity line or the line items will be controlled by parent. Contacts are controlled by parent. The task is controlled by parent, which is used for the tasks, for estimates, and on the cases. I'm going to also use two external objects for old cases and old work orders, and I'll explain how these will be used during the solutioning. So let's have a look at the business processes. We will start with the sales and design. Customers should be able to call a phone number, and then they need to be directed to available supportive representatives within the support centers, or they can ask for the onboarding through the form on the website. So we'll be using Service Cloud Voice to enable incoming calls and outgoing calls to and from Salesforce. We will be routing the call object through the omnichannel using availability routing. Then we will be having leads as the other source, and the leads we will be using web to lead protected by the reCAPTCHA, and then using omnichannel routing them based on the location. And to get them to the location, we'll have lead assignment rules that will assign them to the free location based on the information provided on the lead. There's approximately 5,000 customers per month, so we will be well within the limit of web to lead, which is 500 if we consider normal distribution. The representatives pre-qualifies the prospective customers through the custom questionnaire, and then they would be scheduling a site visit for a system specialist. We are having a lead plus a screen flow started with a quick action. We assume maximum 10 fields needed, and we will store them on the estimate object. The reason to have a custom object is that we then link it to the account as the account is then created. When we are converting to the accounts, we will disable opportunity on the lead convert in the lead settings, and we will assign the estimate object and the account to the specialist, and we will also create a task within that record trigger flow started on the account creation. During the visit, the specialist should be able to take pictures, create preliminary estimate, and capture GPS information. So we are going to be using Salesforce One app. There are no extra requirements that would be preventing us if we can assume that the maximum size of each of the files uploaded will be 100 megabytes, which is the limit of the application. The user will create the estimate by filling in the necessary data to the estimation object. There will already be the object created from the lead conversion, and then there would be the email template that can generate the email with the information to be sent to the customer. I'm only assuming that the data from the estimation are there and no extra layout or formatting is required. Then also based on that, based on this flow, the specialist would create a location object, which is necessary for further operations. The location, then the estimate will be shared with the customer by a sharing set on the account lookup fields from both. There is a customer lookup and there is a customer lookup as well. The creation of the estimate activates or allows the customer to access the Salesforce and to collaborate with our internal users. So I consider to be using opportunities instead of estimate, but there is no access for the CC or CC+ licenses. So I'm going with the estimate custom object, and the access to the customer object, to that object, will be through the sharing set on the user.contact.account_id equals customer lookup. So then they will be able to populate it with additional data. Specialists would create design plans in the design tool. So we will connect through the canvas through the from the estimate object. It will be that the visibility or access will be in a visual first page wrapped in the LWC and put on the detail of the estimate page. We will send in as additional attributes. We send in account ID and estimate ID for further identification. Once created, there will be a job to migrate them to the SharePoint Online. So whenever the files are created in the design system, there will be job to migrate them every hour load them, initiated from ETL, and send them to the SharePoint online to the specific folders created using the account IDs and estimate IDs. Then the orchestration will create a content version object that will be then linked through the content document linked to the estimate. And this is how we get the object files physically stored in the SharePoint to be visible and workable in Salesforce. Once the documents are ready, the specialist systems notifies the specialist and customer to access the documents. They can collaborate during this review, and then they should be able to digitally sign updated estimates. So the collaboration will be done through a chatter on the estimate object, and then to sign an estimate, there will be the specialist will click on a quick action, which will trigger the DocuSign envelope that will select dynamically the correct document version based on the estimation in the country we are in and filled in any merge fields. Then this will be sent to the customer for signature, or we will expose the DocuSign signing component on the estimate object to the Experience Cloud. Customer provides financial data recorded on their location record, and these steps would initiate the approval process to the local or regional manager. So as the financial data needs to be specifically shared, more of that later, I have decided to have them as a custom object linked to the location. And then whenever this object is created, there would be an update. There would be an update on the location that would trigger record trigger flow that will initiate the approval process on the location object. It will be a multi-step approval process. Given certain threshold, only one step would be required. If the threshold is breached, then the regional manager needs to approve as well. Customers should be able to log in through Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn. So we will be using OIDC social login with registration handlers for each of them, and we will enable them in our community in the admin section by clicking each of these as available. The contractors that will install the devices, the records are created and managed in ERP. So we will have a specific record type on the account. We will have a validation rule on that record type to not allow any changes, and we will remove access to the record type to all of the internal users, so they will not be able to create records with this record type. The integration needs to be sent to the Salesforce daily, so we will have a scheduled job in the ETL to load any new or updated contractors from the ERP. Then we will have a remote call-in to Salesforce that will create accounts, including ERP ID. So we'll be storing ERP ID as an external ID on the account. The contractors should be provisioned to access Salesforce. So we will have a record trigger flow after create on the account with the specific record type contractor, which we will be utilizing an async path from that will create a user. The notification of the user creation will be sent through the flow as well, so that we have it absolutely under our control. The specialist selects a contractor for the installation, and the collaboration should be made automatically available. So we will have a lookup on the estimate object, so that we have a customer already and a contractor, and then we will use a sharing set to give access to the contractor. The contractor collaborates with specialist and the customer, and they can trigger the approval process again. So we will allow to go back in the statuses on the estimate, and we will allow checking of all necessary fields. We are assuming that there is no more than 20 of them, which we can use so that we have an information about what have been changed eventually up to 18 months. Once the designs are acceptable to the contractor, then they would indicate acceptance in Salesforce, and we would automatically generate contracting agreement to be signed by the contractor. So the contractor status field, it's a new field on the estimate. They will change it to accepted. We will have a record trigger flow running on that change, and then we will use a DocuSign envelope to generate a contract, and then the record trigger flow would create a service contract object where we would store the data against it and also store the document against it. We will give the access to the contractor through sharing set. I'm assuming we might need to give access to customer as well, so there would be another lookup to the contractor if necessary. If this object should be only visible to the contractor, then we are not going to expose it. Specialist is notified about the acceptance, and the final review is done, and the order is placed. So the notification will be done based on the record trigger flow on status change after the signature, which we get from the DocuSign mechanism. Whenever there is a signature done, then we can update up to 5 fields on the linked object, and then we will send a custom notification within Salesforce. Then we will have a quick action on the estimate object to initiate a small screen flow to create the order. Standard order will be created. Order is created in Salesforce, and then Salesforce needs to send order information to the ERP system. So as this is going to be created via screen flow, then it needs to be updated with the line items, which is here. We expect up to 15 million of them if we assume 30 line items per an order. Then once we activate the order, we will trigger the record trigger flow that would generate platform event, which will then, in a fire and forget manner, go to the ESB that is subscribed through PubSub model. And the orchestration on the ESB would determine the ERP to send it in based on the customer country. It will create a customer and the order at the same time, because the new customer would not be there. If the customer is already existing and have the external ID, then we are using the ID and not creating a new customer. We will obtain ID for both of them, or one if it's already existing customer, and then we will perform a remote call-in to Salesforce to update the necessary IDs with the ERP identifiers. The next part of this orchestration will also create an account and the location in the monitoring systems while using the ERP IDs. So we'll be using the ERP IDs in all of the systems as the unique identifier. The detailed order data should be viewable and accessible from within Salesforce. I'm going to propose LWC component on the order detail with the Apex control doing request response pattern through ESP to get the additional order data from ERP system. The ERP system updates the order status. So whenever we will expose on the ESP the API that will be callable by the ERP, and then the ESP would perform remote calling to Salesforce to update order status. We will need to give the integration user specific permission to edit activated orders on their permission set. Order arrives to the customer, then the specialist and the contractor should be notified by SMS and the email, and contact the customer and begin the installation. So we will have the status change on the order, record trigger flow through the SMS gateway, which I, by the way, missed to put on my landscape, so sorry about that. We will need to implement also integration to the SMS gateway. I considered using digital engagement, but because only of sending the SMSs, there are no other requirements that would be utilizing more of that product. I decided to just use an SMS gateway as a cheaper and faster solution to implement. Then we will also send the email from the same record trigger flow. Each device during the installation is connected online to the appropriate monitoring system, and we need to have the asset created or record created in Salesforce associated with the location. So we are going to be using assets to track the devices. And once the ETAM is connected to the monitoring system, we are assuming that the customer and identifier is there, as we know of them because we sent it to there previously. Then the monitoring system would fire a call to the exposed API on the ESP, do the remote call into Salesforce, and create the asset that will be linked to the location and the customer. Once the installation is finalized, the SF is updated by the specialist, and the other information is sent to the ERP for the creation of the invoice. So I'm assuming that specialist would update Salesforce order status. So we will have a record trigger flow following the same pattern as previously. I'm assuming that we don't need to have invoices in Salesforce. So my assumption is that we just need to have an invoice number and some fields like expected payment date and expected payment amount. So we will be storing those in a specific field and the layout section on the order detail page. Let's get to the schedule maintenance processes. So the maintenance schedule is set by specialists when the installation is complete and managed by the support. So we will be creating work orders to track these for the maintenances, and the owner will be service resource. There is a calculation that there would be twice two maintenances on each of the locations. So it's the first number, 644,000 for this record type. The maintenance, when the maintenance is week away, we need to create a service order in the ERP. So we will have a scheduled flow to check if there are any work orders week before they're paid. If so, we trigger PE through platform event fire and forget ESB going to correct ERP and creates the service order. I've considered batch, but given the amount of licenses, we will have more than enough scheduled, triggered interviews available. Once the maintenance is complete, the specialist updates on the mobile device the status, and it goes to the service order in real-time basis or near real-time. I'm assuming that the near real-time is fine, so I'm going to use the same procedure status change on work order, record trigger flow, platform event fire and forget, ESB to the ERP, and the service order is updated. Let's have a look at the monitoring and the issue management. So the issues can be coming from the monitoring system for different, and Salesforce needs to be updated with certain events. So I'm assuming that I again expose specific API on the ESP to be called from the monitoring system, and then remote call-in to Salesforce will create a case. We also should create a task for the support representative. So we create a task based on the same operation. So the ESB will orchestrate through the remote call-in creation of the case and then creation of the task assigned to the remote call-in and the support representative. Issues can be raised by customer contacts through the web on their mobile phone. So this is where we need to include the mobile publisher to expose the Experience Cloud on their mobile devices. And we will be using the standard case form on the Experience Cloud pages. The customer mobile device, they should be able to take the picture of the device, of the barcode, and identify individual device. So once the case is open, there will be a quick action with the LWC component to be loaded. That would be allowing to load the barcodes using the standard LWC component. If the asset is found, then it will be attached to the case. So there is the assumption that we can read the barcodes with this Lightning Web component. Issues are routed based on the geography and expertise. So we will have the omnichannel routing of the case based on the skill-based, which will be the expertise, and the needed expertise will be stored on the linked asset through the product. So on product, we will have the expertise, and through the asset linked to the case, we will know which skill we need to find. And then we will have the case assignment rules to assign it to a specific queue per region, and then the omnichannel skill base will be based on that route. Maintenance, if the maintenance or repair work is needed, we need to create a task, and also it needs to create a service order in real time. So we will have a quick action with the LWC on the case. It will create a word order with a different ad hoc record type. We are expecting up to 16 million of them. There will be the Apex control on that LVC. We will have a request response pattern through ESB to create the service order in ERP. I considered the screen flow and external services, but I'm assuming that those would need to be built on my ESB, and I'm probably having more Salesforce devs than the middleware devs, so this would be faster to deliver. Issues can be created by support representatives, so either through the call or through other channels. So we will allow creation of the case manually directly from the account within the related list of cases. From this point, maintenance should work the same way. So the assignment will be done in the exact same manner. There is just the consideration for the numbers. So 20 issues per year and how to require work orders. So this is where 16 million and 32 million numbers are coming from. So let's go to the data migration requirements, or maybe stop on the LDV first. So our LDV, we have opportunity order line item up to 15 millions with the assumption there will be 30 of them per order. So it might be higher, maybe. So I'm not going to do any short-term solutioning, as this is just the object that will be there. It's not going to be used in any reports, at least currently, and it will only be shown in the related list. So minimal operations on this object is done, and I'm assuming that this will work just fine. Work orders 16.6 million. Short-term, we do indexes to make sure that the queries in Apex and for the reports and list views are done nicely. We can also consider skinny tables if there would be a set of fields between standard and custom ones for reports and list views to increase the speed. With skinny tables, we need to consider impact on the speed of inserting data into the database, and it will be a little bit slower. Long term, I'm going to archiving of the platform rework orders. So I'm proposing to do that after 1 year, and I will expose the external object from DVH for the old items. I'm going to use restriction rules to make sure that it's only visible to the persons that should have access to it, and there will be a related list on the account 50s. The assets, 32 million. So the asset object is ready to store a lot of data. So I'm just making sure that there will be no long-running transactions, which I'm not expecting, and not any expensive queries to be done. Whenever the asset is decommissioned or customer is gone, we can delete them from the Salesforce database. There are no requirements to store them for further usage in a data warehouse. Cases, 32 million, same short-term as on the work orders, so indexes and skinny tables. I'm going to be aggressively archiving them once closed. Then after 3 months, we will be sending them to the data warehouse, cleaning them from the Salesforce, and allowing access through the external object, again protected with the restriction rules. Files. So there is up to 47 gigabytes of files we need to somehow store in the system. Available space is around 7.5 gigabytes. So we have a difference of a magnitude. So my approach is to any files that needs to be worked on or are created or are part of the active negotiations will be stored in the Salesforce. Once these objects will be closed and stored, then we will have a ETL job running every day, loading these files, physically moving them to the SharePoint Online, and then creating the content version with the external source plus the URL of the newly created file in the SharePoint Online, and linking them to the correct data for the further visibility. So there can be customers linked to multiple monitoring systems. So how we are going to use that? Oh, okay, I'm skipping a bit. So back to the migration slide. So we need to migrate leads up to 5 years if they are not customers. From ERP, we need to get customers, locations, contractors, orders, work orders, products, estimates, and contracts. Then for monitoring system, we are getting the device data. From the AD, we will migrate the users. And from the design systems, we need to migrate the documents. So quite a lot of work. So we will be using ETL and the staging DB to prepare scripts to cleanse the data. We need to deduplication data leads against the customers, and then devices between the monitoring systems to make sure that there are no overlaps. For the devices, they can be, one customer can have devices in multiple systems because of the historic reasons and inability of other monitoring systems working with different devices. So this is where we'll be storing the asset ID. Well, we'll be storing the external ID of the asset on the asset in Salesforce, and also the source system. We have 3 of them. So we will have 2 fields to uniquely identify where this asset is coming from. We will be keeping the source unique ID and putting it as an external ID in Salesforce for simply simplifying any integration efforts we'll have in the future. We can do any data enrichment on the customer and leads, like addresses, and making sure that we are importing cleansed data. Before the import, we will sort the child records per the parent to prevent locked rows. To test the migration, we are going to import any percentage to dev Q&As to make sure that our cleansing and mappings are fine. Before the actual migration, we need to turn off automations, allow it set to public retry, and we need to defer recalculation rules, then do the import. Afterwards, we put automation on, OWD to correct one, and then recalculation rules back to normal. The order of import will be user, account, contact, external users, leads, locations, products, PB, PBE, estimates, contracts, orders, order line items, work orders, assets, and files. So the documents, how we would migrate the documents. So we will get all of them to the same location, as now they are all over the place. We will connect that location to the ETL. We will create a folder structure that will allow identification of customers and the estimation this belongs to. So the assumption here is that there is a certain identifier I can use within the name of the file. Then we will run the ETL job to migrate files to the Microsoft SharePoint and create the necessary data in Salesforce. So it will be the content version with external source and the URL plus the content document link to link it. Visibility and accessibility requirements. Specialists, all customers, and the installed systems. So owners will have the visibility. Assumption is that the installed system data are not mentioned anywhere. So I'm going to store it on the account as a specific fields. Specialists, all customers and installed systems, specialist customers, local office, and financial data should be seen. So we will have the owner-based sharing rule on the account from the office level from owner-based sharing rule on the account on the office level in the role hierarchy. There is 150 offices, so we are fine with the 250 limit. Managers should be able to see customer install system data, including financial data. We'll be using role hierarchy to roll up, including the financial data as well. The contractor should view and edit data only for the customer locations they have been assigned to. So there is a lookup on the location and order to account for the contractor. So we'll be using sharing set to do that. Customers can visit only customer contact and installed system data. So we'll have field level security on installed system data on account and access to specific fields on the account for the other changes. And they should have the access to them because of the user of Experience Cloud would grant them the necessary access. Customers with multiple customer accounts, they need to see all of them, all of the subordinate data. So we will be using the account contact role. Let me go back to the diagram. Account contact records plus the sharing set on the contact related equal to the lookup from subordinate object to the account. So there will be a lookup from order and all of the items, and we will be using the ACR, linking it to different accounts to make sure that they have access to it. Reporting requirements, representatives, specialists, and managers should be able to report on sales activity and schedules. So the sales activity, I'm assuming, is our estimates plus orders plus service contracts. There are no schedules in this scenario. So I'm going with standard Salesforce reports as data are around 500K for each object. Representatives, specialists, and managers should be able to monitor device monitoring events. So this object is coming from different system, and there is a 32 million of cases. So I'm going to be using CRM analytics for this one. Ad hoc trending reports, monitoring activity over various periods. Again, CRMI is required. Customers showing issues with the status. So I'm going to with the list view because they have no access to the reports, and list view with statuses should be sufficient. Report on the live website with the monitoring events and installation. So these data are not solely in a Salesforce. So I'm going to source it from monitoring system and installations, which is the order. So I will have a job in ESB to load the data every hour, every 10 minutes, and then to refresh them and then provide them to the website. Now have a look. Let's have a look at the governance. So Our teams are geographically discrepancy. We have 2 ERP systems, 3 monitoring systems, and the teams are working with great autonomy. So we want to keep the autonomy as it's going to support creativity. So we will allow these teams to work in an agile way internally, but we will give them a waterfall-like approach with strict deadlines to deliver needed changes, hoping that it will make them working nicely and deliver in time as necessary. Then our structure will be having a sponsor that is owner of the budget, then the steering committee that is providing the best practices, overall strategy, and the ideas that needs to be implemented within the platform, and they are saying how to get most of the platform, and then the COE that is basically making sure that these rules are adhered to. The COE will have 2 parts, the technical, where the Salesforce architect, ERP architects, monitoring system architect, lead developer, mobile team, and security teams will be part of, and they will be making sure that the approach that is taken within each of the user stories and decision is solid and valid for the overall strategy. That will be decided on the design authority meetings, which will be happening 2 times a week for very specific user stories, and we will have a list of the attributes that each user story needs to have to go for the design authority. Other part of the COE will be business part. They will be responsible for making the backlog, creating the analysis of the items, and writing down the requirements. It will be the product owner, analyst, region leads, office subject matter experts, data steward, change management team, and test management team. They will be working on making sure that the system is adopted and workable by the users. We'll be going to be using Jira plus X-Ray plugin to make sure that we can track the scope, priorities, and how we want to work. We are going to be using Confluence for our documentation, Git as our source control. I'll get to that a little later. And we will be going to be using hybrid approach, as I already described. We are going to be doing a phased rollout, first USA, then Canada, to be able to adhere to the timelines and to make sure that we can test our logic with the USA. And then when we are going live with Canada, our users will have a much better system. Let's have a look at the environment strategy. So we are going to be using the release branch strategy. We will have a develop branch from which developer would create a feature branch and create a scratch org. Then the work is done and a PR back to develop is created. There, the unit tests, the PMD, and the link will be run to make sure that we are not breaking anything that we have in a develop, and also the quality, the code review will be happening here. Once merged to the QA, there will be automation to send it to the Dev Pro sandbox for unit test and the quality assurance testing. Then the release would be created. There can be multiple releases at any given time. And from the release, we'll be going to SIT, UAT branch, and production as we would move through the deployment cycle. When we are in SIT, it will be a partial sandbox. We'll be running any unit tests, integration test. This is the environment where we will be connecting to the test, and one test environment for each of the system, and one development will be connected to the QA system. Yes, QA, no. The dev will be connected to the SIT, and we will be doing integration test and the data load test, the partial one. Then from the UAT branch, we go to UAT and the staging sandboxes, and to the UAT, the test environment of the other systems will be connected so that we can do full end-to-end UAT testing with the users, and also the unit test will be run there. On the staging sandbox, we will be running the penetration, performance, unit test again, and we will be doing also full import test on the full sandbox of the staging. Then when we get to the production, we deploy to production, we will do smoke and sanity tests in here. We also are having the hotfix branch and environment, which will be on Dev Pro for any critical fixes. When we have a hotfix fix, it will be merged to the production branch directly. Then from the hotfix, it will go to the release. And from hotfix, it will go to the UAT, SIT, QA, and develop branch independently to make sure that any actual versions of the code base in each of these branches can be handled properly. I got 20 more seconds. I'll go back to the governance. So the phase rollout, for me is needed because we need to deliver a lot of functionality, and we need to make sure that we deliver it in a correct manner. Brilliant. So that's it from my side. Thank you very much for your listening, and I'm happy to answer any of the questions.
Thank you. Do you want to drink